Here are 5 social intelligence techniques nobody teaches you. Number 1, micro-expression reading. This is something that most socially intelligent people have mastered at some point in their life, and some people realize it when it's far too late. And that is that facial expressions can last as little as 1/15th to 1/25th of a second. A lot of people go through conversations only focusing on words and completely missing the emotional reality happening right in front of them. They hope that by asking good questions or maintaining eye contact, they'll somehow build real connection. But the truth is, if you can't read micro-expressions, you're missing 80% of the actual communication happening in any interaction. 7 universal micro-expressions exist across all cultures: anger, fear, sadness, disgust, contempt, surprise, and happiness. Only 2 are positive. When someone says, "I'm fine," but shows a split-second expression of sadness, a slight pulling down of the corners of the lips, they're communicating something their words aren't. But this realization is also a blessing because once you start noticing these tiny expressions, you can respond to what people are actually feeling, not just what they're saying. Some people do come along and they do have excellent social skills naturally, but you can't wait around for these people to teach you. But this realization is also a blessing because you don't have to wait for anybody anymore. Number 2, layered validation. The most socially magnetic people validate others on 3 levels simultaneously: content, emotion, and identity. When someone says, "I stayed up all night finishing this project," most people respond with, "That's cool," or "Good job." But what if instead you said, "That kind of dedication is impressive," content. You must be feeling both exhausted and accomplished right now, emotion. It really shows how deeply you care about producing quality work, rather than just checking boxes, identity. This connects on a completely different level, because you're not just hearing their words, you're seeing the whole person. And there's almost no difference between feeling seen and feeling valued. When you look at someone with your eyes, you're also psychologically affirming their worth. Companies and relationship experts, probably for centuries, have really caught on to this fact by making validation techniques as sophisticated as possible, because they know that if they have your sense of being seen, they have your loyalty, which also means they probably have your money. This is why in the modern age, when people are extremely good at, they've perfected, the ability to make you feel invisible. It's more important than ever to master the art of making others feel truly seen to establish genuine connection. We can no longer afford to just go into conversations with no real understanding of validation. La 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 la, no real plan. What will happen is, via your words, you'll create superficial connections, some sort of small talk, some sort of headline or compliment, or you'll just be super conditioned to keeping everything at the surface level, and somehow, magically, a whole relationship went by and you never really connected. Number 3, conversational storytelling. The most captivating people don't just relay information. They transform mundane experiences into compelling narratives using a specific structure: universal hook, context, conflict, resolution, and meaning. On the flip side, if you want to be forgettable, just list facts. There was this weird conversation I had 3 years ago, but the person mentioned how if you're having trouble keeping people's attention, just use a universal hook, an opening line that makes the listener think, "I know exactly that feeling." And since your words are structured as a story, their brain will focus on it as well. So if you feel kind of forgotten in social situations, like you just can't get people to remember you or find you interesting, literally just start with a universal hook and follow the storytelling structure. Watching the same types of conversations in the same room, in the same social groups, with the same people having the same conversations about the same things, and then somehow expecting yourself to become more socially magnetic than you are now is a little ridiculous, because you are putting into your brain the exact same social patterns that you always have, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't want to automatically imply that your social life sucks. We'll actually get into that later. That's one of the next points. But just because your social interactions are the same, doesn't necessarily mean that that's bad. Maybe you find a lot of security and comfort in the sameness of your social circle. But for some people, the sameness is actually devastating because they don't actually like how people respond to them. They don't like their inability to keep conversations interesting. They find themselves lacking any sort of conversational magic, any sort of motivation to even go to social events, because they know they'll just fade into the background. So what they do in that type of situation is they look outwards. Maybe I need to look up some conversation tips or something. Maybe there's the perfect technique I need to learn, or maybe somebody is gonna come into my life and make me more charismatic, help me be more interesting, and everything will change for me. But the thing is, you're already feeding yourself so many social interactions that are influencing how you communicate and connect. A lot of people tend to dismiss the familiar. They are blind. It's like going nose blind, right? Like if you have a stinky social situation, but it's a group that you spend most of your time with every single day, eventually you'll become accustomed to the awkwardness until someone else who's not accustomed to the awkwardness will walk in and say, "Holy smokes, dude. Why is everyone so tense and weird?" And you'll say, "What? I don't notice anything." Anything that's familiar to you is like that. You could wake up one day and have all these social problems. You just feel really bad recently. You're getting totally burnt out in conversations, and someone will say to you, "Hey man, have you tried using status calibration?" And you say to them, "No, that's not it." You're almost insulted by the suggestion because you always talk too fast and interrupt people. That's just normal to you. Most of the time you can survive socially. Since it's a baseline for you, you don't consider that that could be the problem. But I'm urging you, what is familiar in your social life, what is regular, what is frequent, is almost always the most influential thing affecting your day-to-day experience of connecting with others. Number 4, status calibration. In every social interaction, there's an invisible status game happening that most people are completely unaware of. Low status behaviors include speaking quickly, nervous laughter, excessive nodding, and making yourself physically smaller. High status behaviors include speaking slowly, comfortable silence, taking up space, and maintaining steady eye contact. The average person stays fixed at one status level, either too high, coming across as arrogant, or too low, coming across as insecure. But socially intelligent people practice dynamic status calibration, the ability to move fluidly between status levels depending on the situation. It allows you to make anyone comfortable around you, regardless of their own status. When someone is visibly nervous or insecure, temporarily lowering your status by showing controlled vulnerability, asking for their opinion, or showing genuine appreciation for their knowledge makes them feel more comfortable around you. When you need to establish authority or credibility, slightly raising your status through deliberate pauses before speaking, holding eye contact a beat longer, and using definitive rather than qualifying language creates respect. The key is flexibility, being able to adjust your status to complement the other person rather than competing with or submitting to them. This technique alone can transform your ability to connect with people across different hierarchies, from CEOs to the shyest person at the party. Number 5, the feedback loop system. 99% of people on this planet have conversations that go nowhere because they don't understand psychological reward cycles. Maybe they have a way of talking that they're not super proud of, or maybe that way of communicating was in the past. Maybe it's going on right now and it's worse than ever. Or maybe you're just not very proud of how forgettable you are and the connections that you make, and you want more than anything to change your social reality. Whatever the case is, you may want to implement the feedback loop system. Every successful social interaction creates a psychological reward cycle that makes people want to continue engaging with you. The system works in 4 parts: specific, curiosity, discovery, validation, and intrigue. You begin by expressing genuine curiosity about something specific about the person. When they share, you discover something meaningful and validate it authentically. Then, and this is the part most people miss, you introduce an element of intrigue about yourself, that connects to what they shared, creating a hook for them to want to know more. The real problem is that most people are so focused on what they're going to say next that they completely miss what's actually important to the other person. By using this four-part system, you're forced to stay present and respond to what actually matters. The bottom line is, don't overthink it. Implement these 5 techniques. Maybe you need to listen to this video again to fully absorb these concepts, but get in action, increase your social energy, and blast past your old social limitations.